Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. In this Warcraft Rumble dungeon guide, I'm going to take a look at Gnomeregan on an Alliance week, and especially focusing on Maiev Shadowsong both with and without talents. First, a quick recap of the dungeon mechanics. The first boss, Crowd Pummeler, has a whirlwind attack that's going to throw your minis away, as well as a ranged attack that's going to throw your minis away. When flying minis get thrown off the ledge, they can fly back, but when ground minis are thrown off the ledge, they are gone. They just instantly get evaporated. There's also these Gnomish protection devices here, and if you leave a Gnomish protection device out there for a while, then the boss is going to get a free save pilot that's going to come and pick it up. So you want to pick them up at least sometimes. But the main strategy here overall is taking this meeting stone and then start sending ranged units from this side and from this side. So you're just pummeling the boss from both sides. Alternatively, something like Whelpeg's spam, Safe Pilot spam, can also deal a bunch of damage to the boss, but the ranged units from two sides is the main strategy for this one. The second boss, Electrocutioner, is just pure misery. I don't even know about this boss. It just keeps sending waves after waves after waves of stuff at you. There's just so much stuff. Also, the boss has 2 rocket towers, and do note that after the recent balance patch, rocket towers now deal siege damage, which is physical damage. So there are these poison fumes, which is elemental damage. The boss itself is elemental damage, but these rocket towers, the rockets themselves are now physical damage. So fire elemental is actually terrible here now, because these rocket towers just eat it alive really, really quickly. And between the mix of elemental and physical damage in this map, it's just really hard to find minis that are tanky enough. Either way, you will need to take some towers. You can take towers with gargoyles, with sappers, with meat wagons, with life-stealing abominations, for example. There's a few ways that you can grab some towers. You really want to take both towers as soon as possible, then start pushing at the boss. Quillbore, for example, can tank the boss for ages because it's resistant, so that's good, because otherwise the boss is just going to evaporate a lot of minis that you have. You want to try to push from multiple lanes, get some resistant tanks so that you can get some hits in, and hopefully you will be able to get the boss down, but there's just so much stuff coming at you that it's going to be really, really tricky. And finally, there's the third boss, Mekgineer Thermaplugg, which is probably the most boring boss out of all dungeon bosses. Mekgineer Thermaplugg itself cannot be damaged, but there are these amp switches. Summons a walking bomb when captured, cannot be claimed by flying. So these are going to pop up on both sides. You want to burst them open, and then bombs will go over there and hit the boss. If boss's minions pop them open, bombs will come at your base. Your base can also be damaged by boss's minions, but you cannot damage the boss with your minions. So you're just going to play a game of whack-a-mole, left and right and left and right. Send minis to both sides, try to cover as much of the zone as possible so that you get to break the switches first, and in the meantime also try to mine as often as you can. Every time you get to the cycle where you get your cobalt miner, then just mine. Try to be wary that the boss doesn't send their minis on the side where you're trying to mine, because then there's a prowler coming, for example, then it might kill your miner and you miss out on that gold. So pay a little bit of attention to that, and then it's just a big game of whack-a-mole. So when I have talents available, my Maiev army looks like this. I'm using Defias Bandits, Safe Pilot, Whelp Eggs, Goblin Sappers, Prowler, and Quillbore. Maiev likes to have a bunch of unbounds, because Maiev becomes cheaper when you play unbound, so we have 3 unbounds here. That's okay-ish. The first boss is actually pretty easy with this one, even though I'm not doing the usual ranged attackers from both sides with this strategy, because now I have Goblin Sappers coming at the boss, I have Whelpex and Safe Pilot dealing some damage to the boss, and actually Prowler, because Prowler with that talent, Prowler charges in and stuns the boss for a while, so Prowler also gets quite a good piece of damage in. So the first boss just falls to these. You still take the stone, then you come from both sides, but just a little bit different. Then there is the second boss, which is the most painful in the dungeon, and I have Goblin Sappers here to take those towers. I like Goblin Sappers for taking towers only when they have rocket boots. If they don't have rocket boots, then you need more distraction, and it's just everything just becomes so much more awkward. But with rocket boots, Sappers are good at taking towers, and then I again have Prowler, which can also hit at the boss and stun the boss, and also deals really good damage to the towers. So if you can't quite get the tower down initially, then Prowler can just get in some more damage to that one. And also Whelpex, dropping Whelpex into the poison fumes, they blow up immediately. just deal so nice things, sending device bandits down the middle lane. It's pretty beautiful. The map is still really hard, but this is one of the strongest comps that I have found for that one, for all leaders. And then the third boss is basically free anyway, just left and right and boom. If I don't have talents available, especially if I don't have rocket boots for sappers and stealth for the prowler, then I go with something like this. So I'm using Defice Bandit, Safe Pilot, Quillbore, Whelpex, 4 of the same minis, but then the last 2 slots are taken by Plague Farmer and Gargoyle. So on the first boss, now Plague Farmers coming from both sides and just chip away at the boss, and the boss is eventually going to fall. You can also send Gargoyle in if you like, but it's okay. And Gargoyle on the second boss, Gargoyle is now taking down the towers. Gargoyle is the strongest thing that can take down towers on the second boss. Like sappers, okay, you think about levels, you think about rocket boots. Gargoyle just works. Even if Gargoyle is lower leveled, Gargoyle simply works. But at 4 cost and not focusing on anything else than the towers and the boss, Gargoyle does have some limitations as well. But it's still a phenomenal tool for taking those towers and getting some pressure on the boss. And Quillbore still excellent at tanking the boss itself, because boss is all elemental damage. And the third boss is just left and right, and then you win. And I have some gameplay footage showing both of these comps, so let's go take a look at them in action. Alright, it's time to Maiev up this Gnomeregan. So here we go. I start fighting for the stone immediately. I start fighting for the chests immediately. Defiance bandits grabbing the chest hopefully for me. Well, they're now poking it very slowly. Let's try to get some action going there. And see that Prowler as well. Prowler just doing a phenomenal job. Killing things, tanking for me, dealing a lot of damage. And now I have the stone, so I start sending out some sappers. Yay! Sapper damage in. And prowlers from both sides. And as you can see now, the prowler charges at the boss, it stuns the boss, and then it still gets to deal some more extra damage. So damage is just piling up, and we're putting on a lot of pressure at the boss. Here we go. Boss animation bugged. Hey, I hadn't seen that before. I currently send so much stuff at it. And then more sappers again. Go sappers! Boom, boom. Yes, sappers dealing wonderful damage to the boss. Prowlers, eggs, flame burst, safe pilots. This boss is in trouble. And then it's dead. Well, that was the fun part, and then we arrive at the Electrocutioner, and this is always just pure misery. I have noticed actually that usually when I take the right tower first, I tend to have better results. The AI often attacks from the middle, or it attacks from the left tower, and right tower is right up there for taking. Of course, I need to be a little bit responsive depending on what the AI does, but the right tower often offers more opportunities. There I really messed up with those sappers. I was trying to get the left tower too really quickly. But then that mistake potentially cost me the game. Because if I had been able to take that left tower there, I think we would have been in a pretty good spot. Although I have to admit that the AI is capable of taking both towers back in this one. But now we get another sapper attack in. Sappers are great because they're so cheap, so you can weave them in much more easily than you can Gargoyle. But sappers have some requirements. They need their rocket boots, typically. Well, without rocket boots it's possible, but it's so much harder, and also they're more sensitive to level differences. So here we go. We have now managed to get the second tower down a little bit and sending in that Prowler, and look at the DPS of the Prowler. Prowler DPS is actually really good, and Prowler has some tanking capabilities, and with the stealth talent, Prowler also stuns when it charges from stealth, so it does many great things in this one. There my hand slipped a little bit and I positioned the X a little bit too much to the side, but Prowler comes to the rescue, kills the troll. Look at that Prowler, it's just killing everything there. Alright, now we have 2 towers giving up on chest on the middle. That was bad. I obviously would want to grab that chest whenever I can, because giving the AI that gold is not good. But here we go anyway. Going in, getting some stuns in. So I have bandits that can stun, I have prowlers that can stun, I have Quillbore that can tank the boss. I have a bunch of tools here. if I can just make it all happen, but sometimes it's just so incredibly hard also just to defend your existing towers. I try to mine, I try to defend the towers, I try to get some kind of an attack in. And no, I must not lose the chest. Whew, Maiev came in clutch. Maiev secured the chest for me, that's wonderful. And then everything is approaching the boss in stealth. Boss is stunned. Boss takes some damage. Just Prowler does really beautiful things here. Even though Prowler is not super tanky, and then it's not great in the third map because it's too fast there, but still, it does some wonderful things. Alright, now I already lost a tower. Yeah, that's how this map so often goes. Now I'm trying to figure out how to proceed from here, because my own base is really vulnerable. If I allow the AI to just take the tower and attack, then I'm at risk of simply losing. So I'm trying to both grab the tower back and I give the AI the chest again. That is not good. But be that as it may, and that Maiev positioning was also a little bit bad. There's those fumes unstealthing Maiev, so... Okay, then I managed to lose the other tower. At this point I'm feeling a little bit hopeless. I usually lose if things go like this. It's overtime, and yeah, overtime can be okay if I'm actually pushing, because I know that AI will stand a lot of stuff, but I just barely managed to do it. Phew. And that takes us to the third boss, and well, this boss is practically free. Left, right, whack-a-mole, and just kill it. Well, not kill the boss, because you can't directly damage the boss, but just take all of those switches whenever they spawn, and then you will have the boss. My Prowler is pushing my Device Bandit. That's actually so bad, because Prowler already is a little awkward. You would want to take things slow and steady here. Like if you have the Lifesteal Relic and you go in with an Abomination in your tank slot, then that Abomination is just wonderful here because it practically never reaches the boss. It just keeps going between the switches. Because a new switch will spawn Abomination. It's like, hey, a switch. But here, all my stuff is going a little bit faster. But all of my stuff is also pretty cheap, so I'm able to just keep dropping it on both sides. And remember to mine. Mining is very important. Because if you don't mine, you can't afford to drop enough minis all over the place. So here we are, dropping those minis, remembering to mine, hopefully. Yes, we do. And left and right, and left and right, and repeat that until the boss dies. That's pretty much all there is to it. What else is there to it? Well, Whelp Eggs, even though Whelp Eggs cannot pop the switches, Whelp Eggs are still useful here. Because Whelp Eggs are good against Prowlers, they're good against the Gnolls, they're good against the Molten Giants. Haven't seen Molten Giants now. It depends on the boss's hand a little bit, whether the boss is going to be interested in using those. But Whelp Eggs just can kill a lot of the stuff, so even though they don't break the switches, you can use them to help you defend against the minis, and that will open up more space for your other minis to actually break those switches. So we're mining, we're breaking switches as quickly as we can, and that's all there is to it. Left and right and left and right. And then the boss goes down. Ooh. Without talents, life is much more difficult, so here we're going back to a more regular strategy of using ranged minis from both sides to kill this boss, because Sappers without the rocket boots are just... They can still... I mean, they still do the same amount of damage, but they just require a lot more babysitting, because it's so much more difficult to actually get them to get to the position where they can deal that damage. Here I actually had an opportunity, I had enough gold to even drop a gargoyle out there, and that's fine, because that gargoyle is going to keep coming at the boss many times. The boss is going to spin, the gargoyle is going to be thrown away, gargoyle is going to come back, hit the boss a little bit, it's going to be thrown away. It doesn't take that much damage until there's a mini that's actually going to shoot at it, like that Griffin Rider right there. but it doesn't take so much damage, so it just keeps coming back and hitting the boss. As you can see, the gargoyle just keeps stubbornly flying back, but this time the Griffin Rider is going to get it. I can't help that. Either way, Maiev in stealth can hit air units. Well, Maiev is not stealth, Maiev cannot. But whenever Maiev goes into stealth, then it can also drop those Griffin Riders. So, doing some wonderful work. Also, Maiev in stealth is able to reach the boss. And here we go, reach the boss, hit the boss, stun the boss, shoot the boss, poison the boss, and boss goes down. Then it is time to go for the second boss. I actually used this comp with talents as well. And I was inches away from clearing this boss without talents at minus 2.3. But yeah, it is really, really hard. So now without talents, Gargoyle is the strongest mini for taking these towers down when you have no talents available. Gargoyle is just by far the strongest. There it does a good job. Again, grabbing that right tower first. Left tower first would kind of be preferable because of the gold vein, that you would get access to a gold vein, but the right tower does deny AI access to a gold vein. And furthermore, I just feel like it's much more easy to take. The AI most of the time will attack from the left or from the middle. But sometimes it does attack from the right as well, so you do need to pay a little bit of attention on where is the AI actually going to come from. And what do you need to do. Anyway, here, now that we're fighting on even levels, this is a yellow difficulty dungeon. We're actually completely dead even. I'm 18.0 versus 18. And there is a big difference between this and going a couple of levels into red. So now we're actually able to take the towers and start to fight against the boss. And this is, of course, completely without talents. So talents will always help you. So with talents, you could clear a little bit higher. And even without talents, maybe orange is possible. I have done orange with Tyrion without talents, but with Maiev, I haven't been able to get the orange done yet. So it definitely feels difficult. Well, doesn't this always feel difficult, this level? This level is just, yeah, it is misery. But anyway, things are going quite well this time. Because I'm pushing at the boss. The boss is taking a bunch of damage. Now I got that Quillboar tanking really nicely there. And Plague Farmer is just able to start poisoning that boss. And yeah, that Quillboar tanking there, that was phenomenal. That actually just decided the game. Boom. And finally, Mekgineer Thermaplugg, more of a formality at this point. Well, at least as long as you have sufficient number of ground minis. Because if you have too many flying minis when you come to this one, if you use a lot of flying minis to try to get past the first two bosses, then this boss is actually hard, because only ground minis are able to take those switches. But now we have a pretty good setup here. We have a lot of ground minis. I'm just able to drop them on one side, on the other side. Yeah, whack-a-mole. Trying to keep presence on both sides of the playing field so that whenever a switch will spawn, my units will get to that first, or at least most of the time, and then those bombs are going to go in and hit Mekgineer. And yep, that's how we roll. Just left and right and left and right. I've taken a bit of damage this time myself as well. That my positioning was bad, by the way, because it went just directly into the cone of the safe pilot. But be that it may, we're still getting some of these switches. Lost another switch there, so not going too great, but it's gonna be enough. I don't really doubt that at all. Now the boss is starting to take some damage. I got a good streak of switches there, and boom, the boss is really hurting now. I'm alright, starting to look a little bit better. Yep, boom, boom. Oh, 2 bombs to my side. Unfortunate. That's actually a pretty big army coming. Well, say nothing a safe pilot can't handle. Well, okay, safe pilot couldn't quite handle it, but almost. And Maiev is going to go in and finish the job. Things are going quite alright. Now Maiev grabbing all of those switches, and that's gonna be just sweet. Bombs, 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 and it's over. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.